All right, it is 7:03, and I will call the February 28th Newcastle Select Board meeting to order. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, moving on to moving on to 3 amendments to the agenda. I don't think we have anything, Sarah. Nope. Didn't see anything. Move on to 4.1, the minutes from February 14th. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes from February 14th?
Yep.
Moved by Karen, seconded by Rob. Any comments on the minutes? Hold on, let me lock my desk as well. Any comments? Yeah, good to me.
Yeah, they just.
All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes from February 14th?
Aye.
All right, look at that.
All right.
Passes 5-0. So we have Tor remote here. So this is the first time we tried this. So this is kind of a historic moment. You can hear us well, Tor?
Oh, yeah, you're loud and clear.
Yeah.
That's the loudest you've ever been.
Right.
It's perfect.
All right. Okay, so moving on to public comments on items not on the agenda. Board requests that public comments are limited to 5 minutes per subject. Does anyone have any public comments for items not on the agenda? None. Moving on. So we will move on to 7.1, broadband committee proposal review and discussion. We just received the document a few minutes ago. Did you want to speak to that? Do you want to give us an update? So I guess some overview. A couple weeks ago, we met with Tidewater. It was a meeting hosted by the broadband committee, and representatives from Newcastle and Damascotta were there. The entire board ended up showing up, so we were all there for the proposal at that point. And yeah.
So if I may, I want to just give a little bit more background
Okay.
on the committee itself. So as you recall, the broadband committee was created by the select board in November of 2020 with a vision of and a mission of achieving universal access to affordable, future-proof, high-speed internet in Newcastle. In that pursuit of the mission, the committee surveyed Newcastle residents, it surveyed the broadband infrastructure in town, it commissioned a feasibility study, consulted with various parties, which include the Lincoln County Planning Commission and the Allen Institute, and spent many hours discussing, debating, and considering how best to bring high-speed internet access to Newcastle, to everybody in Newcastle. Along the way, the committee obtained 2 grants, which funded some of its efforts. Along the way, the committee learned that high-speed internet is no longer a necessity, but rather is no longer a luxury, but it's a necessity. High-speed internet is critical for communications and for education, business, medical, and legal purposes. It also learned that there is a real digital inequity in Newcastle with 99 addresses unserved and 38 underserved. The committee distributed a request for information. Axiom and Tidewater were the only two internet providers who responded to that. Axiom presented the concept of a municipally owned structure, and it was the consensus of the committee that that concept was not a great fit for Newcastle. And that ultimately led to the receipt of the cost sharing proposal that Tidewater presented, Joel, that you had just mentioned about. And by the way, thank you all again for attending that presentation and hearing what Tidewater needed to say about how to achieve 100% access. As you're likely to call, the proposal was built in two phases. Phase one was to build the infrastructure to provide broadband access to the unserved, and then phase two would cover the rest. Phase one depends on a grant from Connect Maine. And this round is the deadline for that is March 20. The pool of the funds, the way I understand it, is more than $16 million. But to obtain that grant, Newcastle must commit funds to the project. And the Broadband Committee recommends that we use ARPA funds to pursue with phase one. Now, as the proposal is different, that before, as you recall, Tidewater was suggesting a cost sharing of 40% achieved by a grant, with the remaining 60 split with the town of 50-50. They have since come back after we had engaged in some discussions and negotiation with them that Tidewater now would pursue a 50% grant and then splitting the difference with 18% covered by the town and I believe it's 38 remains by Tidewater. So it's a partnership that I feel we need to do. It will result in investment that would solve the problem that we were seeking to solve, was the inequity of the access of high-speed internet. And it brings money into the community that we would not otherwise if we didn't pursue this grant at this time. So I know there's a number of folks here who are interested in speaking on the topic, and ask the chair to probably recognize them and then come back to me and I'll make a motion at some point regarding the what the committee recommends.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that we need to discuss right now, I think we're all committed to broadband. I don't think that's I don't
Right.
think I
Mhm.
I don't think we need to be preached to about that. It's
Right,
something
right.
that we've been working on and trying to. We're just trying to work out the time frame of this, the nuts and bolts of the
Mhm.
funding. I think that's sort of
Right.
where the board's. This is our first time discussing any of the different funding mechanisms and total
Mhm.
cost.
Right,
So I think that's.
right.
I don't know if we start there.
Well, then let me just make it clear that the committee recommends that the town allocate the $60,644 that Tidewater is proposing so that it can seek the grant.
I'm just trying to look through this document that I just
Right.
got.
So
Right.
can you explain how they came up with that number?
Well, as you recall, they had a spreadsheet with the costs of, they projected the whole project. And then they anticipated a 40% grant, which is apparently the level that they've had success of achieving previously. And then they thought, well, as a partnership, they would split the difference 50-50. And they determined that they can do it by being more aggressive and asking for 50%. And then decided that they should take a bigger share of what remains to when we push back basically on the contributions. So I guess, and I don't see Alan here. He was going to try to make it if he could answer questions like that.
Who's Alan?
Alan Hensley, he's essentially the sales guy at Tidewater, but
Oh, he was the guy.
he's been the primary contact that we've had.
I'm just trying to look at that. So did the total, I'm just trying to see if the total.
So the
if
only
their
thing that
total cost changed.
the only thing that changed was the allocation of the cost sharing.
Okay.
I'm struggling a little bit with the numbers because, so, I mean, we've talked about it before. I'm not sure why exactly we're being asked to pay for a lot of the office staff, filing cabinets, legal fees for Tidewater for them going, in forward with a project like this.
Right.
Because if my calculation based on their numbers is correct, they're going to have a revenue of probably $60,000 to $70,000 a year based on just the 99 unserved houses with their projections. So I think they'll have enough money to cover some of those fees, which then probably should be taken out of our number.
But see, the greater number that we contribute to more likely success for the grant. So it's, and I think what I heard you thinking is that they would recoup their money after they got the subscribers.
Yes,
But if they need the money ahead of time to build it out,
but they're not willing to share the money after the fact with us. So, I mean, how?
well, I haven't discussed that with them.
Well,
I-
they
I
flat out
assume
said
they-
no.
I
Alan flat out said
assume
no
they
in the last
wouldn't,
meeting.
but- Yeah.
That question did come up in
It did.
Demerara.
There was no discussion. It was no.
Yeah, it was no, yes.
Right, right.
I
The
mean,
question
I
came
kind of
Right.
guessed it would be no, but
But what we're buying is the benefit of getting equality throughout our town and everybody have the same opportunity to get high-speed internet.
Well, I think that the point of using public money to get a public benefit from a private investment makes sense to the degree that it's enabling an investment that the private entity would not otherwise make. So you can say,
Well, we do
Tidewater-
it with roads all the time
but so-
or other projects.
no, this is a revenue generating private enterprise that we're subsidizing. So any public subsidy should be proportional to the public benefit. And in this case, Tidewater chose to install fiber throughout their system. It's a great system. We love using it. They've done a great job with it, but there was a business case to be made in making that investment, right? So we can use the numbers from their spreadsheet to say that they chose to invest when it cost about $1,900 per customer. That was an investment that they chose to make. They had a business case to make it. So if you look at their numbers, the cost to cover these unserved 99 households is about $3,400 per potential subscriber. So obviously that's more than what they chose to, more than the investment they've already made. So that's the gap that public money could be used to fill. If they're going to a 50% grant application, that more than makes up that difference. So it doesn't seem like it makes sense for the town to be putting money in if the state is covering that gap between the profitable investment and the expansion that's beyond the profitable investment.
But you don't get the investment from Connect Maine unless the town contributes a significant, something that's, that they can support at that level. So the higher that we contribute, my understanding is the more likely Connect Maine is going to contribute and the higher they contribute.
So you're saying the Connect Maine grant is pushing for more public money and less private money?
Yes, and they've been doing that for the last
That
2 or
doesn't make
3 years.
sense.
But that's what they do. If they look at it as a civic investment with a commercial enterprise to reach those folks who don't have that access. I don't believe Tidewater will do this project without our funding, without Connect Maine funding.
Well, I recognize
Right.
I mean, again, I understand that this is beyond the investment that they need to make doesn't close their business case.
Hmm.
So there needs to be public money. I'm just thinking that if the state is putting in, half of the cost, then any money that Newcastle is putting in is beyond what was necessary to make the business case. So we're just subsidizing the private company.
Yeah, I look at more of as an investment in our community and providing an opportunity for the internet provider to build out to places that they would not normally have built out.
Right. But we're
Right.
putting a bunch of public money in. It's just how much, I think is my question.
Well, I mean, it says right there how much is what Tidewater thinks we should do and what the committee thinks that we should do.
I think it's good to take all these numbers into consideration. Ironically, I'm having trouble with the internet that we have here that's working. It's not, I can't load I'm trying to load a page here and I can't. I might have to go to Self to load it. But I think the idea of I think the thing that would be helpful for us right now is just sort of knowing the timeline
Mhm.
in moving forward, just so that we all have time
Right,
to
right.
to review the information, maybe have a direct contact with Tidewater. Generally negotiations
Mhm.
of this manner happen between the manager and the board, not a ad hoc committee.
Mhm.
So
Well, I didn't think we were ad hoc. I thought we were a standing.
yeah,
committee that
but
addressed
the so I think that would be helpful. And then I think, of course, also the review of where we're at with our ARPA funding. That's the only money that we can really use out of our budget.
Right. And let's make it clear, this was a primary purpose of ARPA funds. I mean, they stated that, broadband
It's an allowable use.
is definitely an allowed use. I am concerned about the delay because the grant application, as I said, is due by March 20.
Okay.
And for Tidewater to be able to, first of all, know if we're going to commit anything is important, and then how much that is will make a difference. And we're almost March 1 tomorrow, so it's
Right.
not coming soon. We know a couple projects that we're going to fund with ARPA already. So, and I'm not, and then I know there's a question about one other smaller appropriation, but it seems like it's there, it's available. And I think we have the authority to do that.
Hey,
Yeah.
Joel, can I jump in?
Yeah.
I guess the information that I received from Sarah in the last couple of days was that the ARPA funds are the application process closes in 2024, and so that's a two years. There's 2 years to that timeline left. Is that the way I understand that, Sarah?
We need to expend the funds by 2024 and complete grant reporting by 2026.
Right. So, my consideration of using ARPA funds right now is not to exhaust every last dime out of that pot of money. Because if there is something in the future in a 2-year timeline that we can apply that money towards, there'll be nothing left. So I just want that to be considered when we, make decisions about using ARPA funds. And I also think it's important that we do have a comprehensive review of the funds that we've used in ARPA so far, or what's committed and, what is left exactly. I'd like to see that in a spreadsheet.
What we've committed so far is solely 25,000, an amount not to exceed 25,000 for the installation of an air filtration system in this room. And it is on the agenda for our next meeting for a comprehensive ARPA discussion. However, I'm not prepared at this point to have this discussion. I'm still waiting on quotes for one other item for air filtration for the town hall. I have just a couple of other items that are pending. So I wasn't ready to have that discussion about a holistic ARPA designation tonight, unfortunately.
So to further answer your question about timeline, if the grant application is made and the award is made within 1 year, the project will be built out, and those people who are currently on serve will have the access to high-speed internet
I'm sorry, in a year? Or?
in
Within
1
a
year.
year.
In 1
Oh.
year.
So my understanding, just if I can ask a question about this, walking away from the meeting a couple of weeks ago was that we would need to sign a contract with Tidewater in order to move forward with applying for the Connect Main grant. Is that accurate?
That-
Because we would
that's-
need to go into contract negotiations.
I'm not sure how you got that, but there's no contingency for a contract or anything. What this does do, if we approve the funds, if there's further negotiations or discussions to be had, we're in it and we can have those discussions. They can make the grant application, and if we have more ability to control the project that way. And it gets us in line for phase 2, if that's important, which assumed by the mission of the committee is that it is that we want 100% fiber to the home throughout the town.
Question there. This is just one round. There's a whole bunch more money coming from the state and federal infrastructure funds. Is that correct?
It's my understanding there may be money coming, but there's going to be more competition for it. Right now, we're ready. We've done the research. We've done the due diligence. We've looked at the different ways to achieve universal access, and the committee thinks this is our best shot at this point. And delaying, we sent out about 1,100 surveys to our residents, and we had 255 come back. 235 of them supported what we did. Nobody else said they didn't support it. And a consistent theme along the way is that we want it now. We can't wait. And I think the waiting is sure there may be more funds, but there's just more competition. I think this round with 16 million available is a good shot that they could get the 0.5%, 50% of the project.
So some of my questions, again, and again, I feel like this is why it's important to have a direct conversation with Tidewater, between the town and Tidewater. Is if they're basing it on receiving a 50% grant, what if the grant isn't received? Does the project still move forward? What if less money is received? Does the town's share that they're asking for right now go up? There's a change in the projected cost from the last meeting to this number.
All we're being asked tonight to, and what the committee recommends, is that we commit to the $60,644. If prices change, that's at Tidewater's risk. If there's a less of a grant, then they have to decide how they're going to do the program. What we say tonight is that we would commit X amount of dollars, and that's it. So. And there's no contract that would make us pick up the slack, or if it's Tidewater who's building it out, they're assuming that risk.
But it wouldn't guarantee us that it would happen.
No, but if we don't commit tonight, it's not gonna happen. You can
Tonight-
guarantee
Tonight
that.
especially.
I think so, because they have to make that grant application. You know, we've done 2 grant applications to the committee and it's time consuming.
Yeah.
And, you know, the sooner they know,
Yeah.
the better the application can be.
If we're up against this deadline, why did we get this information today and not in time, so we had time to review it before the meeting?
Well, I mean, we had it a few weeks ago when Tidewater presented. We did know that. But it took a while to negotiate with them to get a different allocation. I can't speak to why, when they promised it on Thursday, we get it on Monday. I think it may be some internal
Yeah.
issues, but the fact is they did come back. We did get them to adjust the allocations.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, and we have no control over Connect Maine and when they establish the grant amount.
Yep.
It's not like anybody's purposely trying to, you know, shove it down anybody's throat or force a quick decision. It's just all how it's come together.
Evan, do you have any thoughts on this or whatever? I don't want to put you on the hot seat, but
I would really suggest that we hear from Mary Ellen first
Okay.
because she
Yeah.
can really give us some insight on the process itself.
you want,
Can you come up to the table, Mary Ellen?
state your name for the record?
I'm Stephen Calder, your host tonight. Yep.
Sorry, raise it right.
So is this on? Is this on?
Done, yep.
Okay, cool. So thank you for your time. I'm Mary Ellen Barnes with Lincoln County Regional Planning. So I would just like to mention that this process with Connect Maine this is the first time they're doing this fairly complex application. And we haven't run it through yet because we haven't had numbers, but there's always going to be from this round onto the future rounds, there's always going to be a requirement for municipal match. So to your point, I appreciate that you're trying to balance off the demands on your budget and the ARPA dollars. But I think what the feds are looking at and what the state has been looking at for the last 15 years is how do we leverage the money that we have? How do we take the state investment, the private sector investment, and make this stretch? And so lately, there's just been an increase in the importance of municipal contribution. So where is that comfort level for Newcastle? And so in one sense, I think Evan and David and the committee really supported some strong negotiations over the last week with LCI and got that down from 101,000 to 60,000. So I think that's some progress, but I appreciate that, you know, you've got a tight time frame here. And the other piece I think is the case from what we're seeing is that this round could have less competition than we'll see in the future. So that's another reason with these folks completing their homework and the survey and trying to work with LCI that you've got a good chance for the funding right now. So that's my high level view at the moment, because I think they've done a great job. And I think it's only going to get more complex, the funding, but I think there's no doubt that the municipal role, I think they call it a community financial commitment. That's going to be there, whether it's, you know, the $16 million this year or the $30 million next year, it's always going to be there as part of a match package.
So to clarify, so if, let's say there's an application that was asking for a 40% state match and the remaining 60 was being fully funded by a private enterprise versus a 50% match where, you know, 20% is from a municipality, they want the municipality to put more money in than the private enterprise?
No, I'm not saying that, but they're going to be looking for it. And I think there's a way that they evaluate both the private sector match and the municipal match. And this is the first round, Rob, that they're looking at this kind of particular formula. So we'll know more after this round. So it's hard to totally evaluate or predict it. It's very hard to predict it, right?
Okay.
Right. But no, there's no way that a municipal match needs to equal a private sector match. They are looking, Connect Me is really looking for these companies, Spectrum, LCI, Consolidated, to be meaningful, to be in there in a big way. So yeah, they're not looking.
That's what would strike me, that you want to maximize the private dollar.
Right, yeah. And so both are going to be needed as we go forward with any of the federal money that's coming down.
Mary Ellen, do you know off the top of your head what the requirement for municipal matches from
No.
Connect Maine?
No. I think there's a formula that's part of this. And I think because we haven't played with the math, we don't really can't really predict that right now.
And the formula goes to the unserved, the number of unserved, is that correct too? It's,
Oh,
They-
yes, that's the only way any community is going to get Connect Me money. That's where they want the money to go. Folks who are unserved or underserved. So absolutely. I wish it was that predictable, Sarah, that there was a formula for it, but there's too many formulas in the current application that they have. So they're looking to balance off the dollars. And I don't know if it's tied to, I think it's tied to the municipal tax valuation. Is that part of the process here? So I think we can provide that to you, the application process, which sort of step by step, it lays things out. But until you have all the math done, you don't really know where you stand. And then the other thing is, as you probably know, Connect Me doesn't fund everything. Not everything, is really, they'll establish some sort of cutoff, and they'll be able to put, $16 million into so many. I think they're looking at maybe 30 or so applications so far already, benefiting about 55 communities, and they're not gonna be able to fund everyone. As you can imagine, they're not gonna be able to fund everyone. I don't know, Evan, would you like to add anything to that? The table moves.
I don't have the spreadsheet that you guys have in front of you, and I wish we could have gotten it to you sooner. but
Evan, can you
they're
introduce yourself?
good,
sir?
perfect. I wish that we could have gotten it sooner, but yeah, Tidewater's not the fastest on that response. But one of the biggest things that I would include is that for this ARPA investment, for every dollar you put in, you're gonna get somewhere around $4.55 back in investment if the grant's awarded. And there's just, I don't know how many other places you're gonna put that much money in and get that kind of level of return coming back into your town. And secondly, if this grant is successful, you'll be one of the very few towns that have covered all of the unserved within your town, which is humongous. Then there's no question of, well, does this house have internet? Yes, it does. Lost my train of thought, but yeah, I think we determined a return on investment of 356%, depending on how you look at it. If it's $1 for the whole project or $1 for their contribution, depending on if they get the grant. But as the future goes on, like Mary Ellen has said, it's going to be so much more competitive the next round. Every town's going to be ready. Every town's going to have a proposal, and this is a great 1,000,000 to 1 shot that wasn't going to exist 2 years ago, realistically.
I do want to note that Newcastle, we will be doing a grant application by, with Tidewater, without Damascotta, because they only allocated $12,000 there, and that's just so low that it is just not feasible for us to join with them to do something.
Are they still going to do an application, a grant application?
I do
Not at this
know what
point.
they're going to do. Yeah,
Not at this
it
point.
doesn't sound like they have the support.
Side point, but so this is about getting fiber to people's homes, but it doesn't require that people subscribe. So we're kind of sensitive to, so there's obviously got to be marketing, all that kind of good stuff, but we're also sensitive to the fact that not everyone can afford a subscription, or not everyone has a decent tablet or laptop. So there's a couple funding programs that Evan's familiar with. That's about affordable connections and affordable technology that are going to be available to people, that are available now, frankly, and that with Evan's assistance and other people's assistance, that can be marketed more, and more families are going to be aware of that, because every $30 you save on your monthly subscription, it's meaningful. So those things are going to be promoted a lot more in town.
Evan mentioned a return of investment of 356%. I would suggest that it's even more, because Tidewater is right in our community. They have employees who live in this community. I'm sure many who live in Newcastle. So that money is going to circulate around and be reused in the community. So the multiplier effect of that is tremendous, in my opinion. It's not just going to some big cable company, obviously.
Oh, we definitely appreciate Tidewaters in our community, no question about it. I do have a question. You point out that not, that not everyone will sign up for the service, but their proposal assumes that 80%
Something like that. Yeah.
of that they're basically building out for 80% because they've got the cost per subscriber, that it's an expenditure that wouldn't be made until you're actually connecting a subscriber. So they've got 80% of that 99, 80 households.
Yep.
That's in this,
That's right, that's right.
in these numbers. So again, the town funds are going to build out a system that may not get used. If 80% of the people don't sign up, or that money doesn't get spent, are they going to be actually installing, as part of this project within that year, terminal equipment on 80% of the households, even if they don't have subscriptions?
They're going to do it on 99 households.
Well, no, they were string fiber to
Yeah.
pass
Right,
99,
right.
but 80% of them, they've
Hoping
got
to
the
subscribe.
funding
Oh, you're
to
talking-
actually install the terminal.
So they present the project to Connect Maine, and if Connect Maine provides a grant, they have to complete that project within a year. So if part of that project is connecting, I'm assuming that they have to do it.
But they just pick the houses to do it, and if they have 50% of them signing up, they maybe end up putting equipment on a house that never subscribes.
They're not going to be putting equipment on. Yeah, they're not going to be putting equipment on the house if they're not subscribing.
Right.
But this $1,500 per subscriber includes the electronics that go in the house.
That's how they build out their total cost for the project. And when they have to go for the grant funding, all of that information gets included at that typical rate. If somebody's unserved, that's the typical rate is 80% of the target share. And I understand exactly what you're saying, believe me, that it should only be incurred once there's a subscriber, but
They've got a plan for so much
to
installation
plan.
costs. so-
But it seems like the public share should be based on the infrastructure that needs to be
I don't
installed,
disagree.
not those terminal costs that only get incurred when there's a subscriber.
I don't disagree.
Hold on a second. Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or while we're here on the open it up, talk to?
Definitely, yeah, open it up to a couple of things.
Mal, do you want to approach the bench? State your name and location.
Name is Mal Carey. The location is here. Some of the build out of the fiber network will require basically set up on the poles, even if they're not going to drop a line immediately. So some of that will have to be done when they're making the run in the first place, even if they're not going to pick up a particular site. The question I asked at the Damascotta meeting and got a firm no on was about whether or not their earnings from the initial deployments would be filterable back into the mechanism, pricing mechanism for a subsequent wave. And I think even though their statement was clear from their spokesman that the reality is that will have to integrate because everybody knows it's there and their cost of earning some more money later. It would be stupid not to subsidize if you're going to get a near-term future gain. So I think we can count on that to some degree. And some of the convincing, I think, has already been done about the why. It's whether this is the way that things get started. there is always later, and later usually costs something either in function or in cash, and certainly in an inflationary environment. So if you will factor that into your considerations, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I
Anyone
think there's a
else?
couple others
Yeah.
who would like.
Carol Miller, and I live on Milliken Island Road. I appreciate that as selectmen, you are paying attention to the money for the town. But I would like to say that I live in a community of about 30 families. Some of them are not there year round. There's a lot of tax revenue that comes out of that area. Also, Grace Lily Lane is another one of the homes that is unserved. I have a family member who has health issues, getting telehealth or telemed. Can you imagine being with your doctor and not being able to conduct that business that you need to do? And we have people in their 80s and 70s in my neighborhood. It is not just people there for the summer. And I got involved in this because of the frustration of not being able to get any service. And the fact that there's an inequity, as David has mentioned, you have access to that service. You are taxpayers in Newcastle. And you get that service because the infrastructure is here. Yes, I live in a more remote area. Why is it that we are not able to get this? And I'm looking at the ARPA funds. They were designated for broadband. That is one of the biggest things on the ARPA fund commitment for those dollars. Going down the road, in order to get fiber installed later on, the demand for this equipment, demand for supplies, for laborers, is all going to be so competitive that we don't know when that will. And I would like you to look at what the revenue is going to be from homes that are actually able to do that. There are probably emails that you receive from some residents that would like to work in these areas that are unserved. We have a neighbor that has a business who's starting up in Newcastle, and he has a hotspot to be able to work with. So there's an inequity that I would like to ask you to look at. And I appreciate what you're saying, Rob. I appreciate what you're looking at the funds. And it's not subsidized, it's partnering. And Tidewater has been very successful with Freeman, Bristol, other towns. And those have been our models. That's who we have been seeking counsel from the beginning. So I would just ask that you think about it if you were living in a home and you were unserved.
That's the comments, not be repetitious. If it's the same, different.
My name is Tom Keller. I live on the North Newcastle Road.
Yeah.
And we have Spectrum up there, coaxial cable, and my speeds range from 40 to 80 download within a 10-minute span. I mean, it's not reliable, and that makes it very tough for my wife and me, who are working professionals, to do the work that we are trying to do. I do want to reiterate what was just said, though, that this March 20th deadline, if we put off, materials are going to be in short supply, contractors are going to be in short. Once this hits, all this stuff is going to be a supply chain problem. So really, it is quite timely for us to do this now. We've been working on this 2 years. This is not something we've been meeting twice a month for 2 years, putting in a lot of hours doing that. 235 Newcastle residents said they wanted high speed. 0 said they didn't. Town residents want and need this sooner rather than later. And I think we can start tonight. That $60,000 will bring back $275,000. So it's a heck of an investment.
I would like to reiterate that I don't believe anyone on the board is against this proposal. It's just, we're getting quite impassioned and I don't want it to seem like the board is hesitating on this. It's just that we have not had any time to review this information. Usually items like this aren't even discussed at a select board meeting if the board hasn't had a chance to adequately review them. So this information is all very new. I haven't had a chance to review it. The fact that we're discussing it tonight right now in any detail at all is not a normal circumstance. So I don't want anyone to think that the board is taking this lightly. The board is not listening to anyone. The board doesn't understand the need for this to happen. We've been working towards this. We've been asking for this information and waiting and waiting and waiting for this information to come back. I would also say that as far as designation of ARPA funds, that's something that is in the purview of the select board. This is something that we've never, it's rare. I've been on the board for 7 years. This is the first time we've had this problem. It's a good problem to have of this money to allocate. But as any dollar cent that we've ever spent since I've been on the board, we've reviewed it. We've made sure that all the terms and conditions are clear and understandable, so that we understand what we're signing up for. We understand what we're putting dollars up for. And I think that's what you're seeing with the hesitation among the board. It's not a matter of not supporting this. It's just trying to process this information, process the reality of the timeline in which we need to make a decision, and then working towards figuring out what that means, and so.
And we haven't had a discussion yet on exactly what we want to do with the. ARPA
Right,
fund,
and so
right?
that's kind of where we're trying to get. So I would say that any other public comment that people have to add to this part of the discussion, I would love to hear. But as far as understanding the need, I think we're all set with that. We understand the need. David has pushed that narrative quite a bit, and we've heard from different people and received various emails. You weren't on some of them though, David. There was a lot of the ones.
Yeah,
weren't
I'm
on.
not sure why, but
I'm not sure why.
Because
I
your name
know.
wasn't on the list of people to email.
Oh,
why
that's
I
right. That was
Maybe,
they weren't petitioned.
but I
But-
am
But I,
glad to see that the community supports
Yeah.
this, and I don't think we should put it off. And frankly, I would like to hear more about what information you need to be able to process this, because I think we should make a decision tonight.
I can tell you right now, I want to know what we're doing with our ARPA money as a general plan first, I don't want to take $60,000 off the top and then say, what do we do with the rest of it? I want to see the whole plan. We need to talk about it soon. Maybe we need to do that before the next meeting, but
Well,
I would like to see what. we're gonna
frankly, I thought that we
plan
were
is.
going to be doing that tonight, and that's what I was told a couple of weeks ago we'd be doing. But this is a real project, a real item that we need now, and we can approve it. And there's still going to be money left over for other projects. So waiting is just going to cost us more. I mean, that's really when it comes down to it. But, so we can really discuss it. I move that we accept the committee's recommendation that we allocate $644 of the ARPA funds to this project.
what?
The number is 60,640,
60,000. Yeah,
Not 600.
not 600,000.
Not 600,000.
60644, please.
640.
Right.
It's 640, not
Yeah.
44.
Oh,
Okay.
so,
So we have a motion We have a motion on the table.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
I don't know the process. 'cause I
We
was
have
gonna
we have a
discuss-
motion, so we need a second to discuss.
To discuss it. Okay, I'll second to discuss
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Karen, seconds. Sure, if you want to. I'll let a former selectman interject.
Uh, I can appreciate the problem you've got.
Yeah.
We've been frustrated with Tidewater. They should have had their figures together for us the end of October and would have allowed plenty of time. But be that as it may, we're stuck with what we got. And what I think Tor and you were discussing the deadline of actually using up the ARPA funds. But I assume that's a project complete, paid off, which is like 2 years from now, whenever that date is. The concern, if we don't get in something by the April 20th deadline, I mean, I don't even know how long they take to make their decisions, but by the time you do that, Tidewater start to order their materials, I think you may be pushing the time limits, you know? So trying to put that off probably isn't a good idea. I think if we can work to get everybody satisfied, so either at your next meeting, everybody has had an opportunity to look at it and you can make a decision then. I think, David, you and Evan talking with Tidewater, if I were in their shoes, I'd go ahead and get the application prepared. If it doesn't get approved, so what? But you can't wait until that decision is made and spend a week to get it together. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but that, I guess that's my contribution to the effort. Yeah.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much. So I'm just trying to look at the time frame on the ARPA discussion that we were going to have. So the idea was if as before our meeting tonight, the idea was that our next regular select board meeting, we would be having that ARPA discussion.
Correct. Yep, at our next meeting.
Okay.
What I told David when we had the meeting for broadband was I needed time to get a budget proposal together for this, but then the figures have shifted. But as far as an ARPA proposal, I have been hoping for it as soon as possible, but I'm still, like I said, waiting on a couple of quotes. So unfortunately, I have to have that discussion at our next meeting.
And I mean, I think I'm not going to make a motion to allocate an undisclosed amount of money, but I think we're definitely, I think everyone on the board is in support of allocating funds. I think it's just following the appropriate mechanisms for moving forward with that and giving time just to answer the questions that I
Well,
have.
I guess I'm still at a loss. What are those questions? I mean, can we answer those for you tonight? Or are there people here that can answer those, or is it?
I think they're more specific with Tidewater, specifically just really understanding timeframes, really understanding the breakdown in the shared costs. Just a couple questions like that, again, just doing due diligence.
Hey, Joel,
Yeah,
you mind if I jump in for a second?
Yep.
To me, I mean, this is obviously a time sensitive issue. I just want everybody to know in the room that me personally, I'm committed to try to make this happen and to meet the deadline, what needs to happen there. And I think there's support in the town. Certainly I have support for this initiative. I think to me, it's not a matter of whether it's $1 or $60,000. It's where's that money come from? So without some clarity on the ARPA funds, which I haven't seen, it's been discussed, but it's all loose discussion. I'd like to know what those funds are being used for, because $60,000 is a lot of money. The ARPA funds, granted, is relatively free to the town. They're not being raised by tax valuation, so we don't have to go out and ask our neighbors to contribute to this. So that's the good news. But, whether, whatever the contribution is, what we take out of ARPA, I think just for my comfort level, and this has nothing to do with, what Tidewater is doing, what the specifics are. I don't know where this money is coming from and how much we have left in ARPA funds. This may exceed it. It may be enough. It may be, there may be more. I don't know. So, I mean, obviously there's ways that we can make up the difference too, but that's part of the discussion that the select board needs to have. We can't just do this on the fly in 5 minutes, based on a number that we've just been presented with. So that's my issue. I'm committed to try to figure this out when we need to try to make it happen. But I do have questions about where the money comes from, and I do need to see more about ARPA, what we've got designated so far. So that's where I'm at.
I'd add, I think that while the ARPA money is definitely new money, it's not raised from tax revenues from our property taxes. The expenditures, things like ventilation for this room, if we didn't have ARPA money, we'd have to be doing that anyway. So these are expenditures that, while they're not coming from tax dollars, if we didn't have the ARPA money, we'd be spending tax dollars. So I think that it's not free money, I guess is basically what I'm saying, is that it's real money. It's money that we need to spend, use just as much care in spending as we would any other dollar of spending. So that's why we really want to make sure that again, I think we all support broadband. We believe in the mission of the committee to get broadband to people who don't have it. But we just need to make sure that any town expenditures, and that includes the ARPA money, is the right amount, and that we're spending it properly.
I do think, though, we are being inconsistent when we voted to approve for the air filtration system. We didn't say, what are we going to spend the rest of the money on? And I believe that's also the discussion of the reimbursing of the town for the cost of the town hall. That's part of it as well. But I want to go back even further to my understanding of the guidelines around the funds is that they're not supposed to pay for stuff to save taxpayers money. They were meant for specific projects due to COVID, and one of them was broadband.
And health and safety features, like the things that we did with the town office here. So those are
Right.
all very consistent with
Right.
the
Well, we did
intent
them
of ARPA
piecemeal,
money.
though. And why not do this one piecemeal as well?
We've
Well,
only
the-
done one.
The
so far.
initial response, if I will, was due to the COVID-19
Mhm.
pandemic rolling out. You all remember what that was like. We made the decision to move forward with that process. We used taxpayer dollars to do that. We did it under an emergency, more of an emergency method because we needed to do it at the time.
You're talking the town office.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm talking
mhm.
about that.
Renovation, yeah.
And so,
But we
again,
are reimbursing ourselves with the ARPA funds.
correct, because
That's one of the
again,
things
that was an
we haven't-
expenditure that was, and I'm not, I think the discussion of how it's allocated again needs to be a holistic piece at this point. Again, the filtration system in this room, again, is based on a real need. At the time we decided that we really needed to do this and get this done. We had the highest levels of COVID and that we've ever had. We had hospitals were filling up. We've had lots of exposures. We have someone right now who's online right now because of that. So I'm not arguing the validity of how each dollar is spent right now. I just think that the process needs to be honored, and we need to be able to move forward with that. And
Right.
I think, again, the commitment to put funds toward this is not something that no one's saying that they don't want to do. I just think it needs to be done in the appropriate
Right.
manner.
I think the committee would just suggest that this is just as critical for timing as the air filtration system is for the other expenditures.
Can we meet on the ARPA funds earlier?
I mean, only other thing we could do is pull a special workshop or meeting next Monday. to be on the other thing to do.
Can you be ready for that? With the ARPA?
If something doesn't come in with an estimate, maybe we'll just make.
Yeah, I'll just put in an estimate, my rough estimate.
Yeah.
We don't have anything official. but-
I mean, I think we could do that. I think again, there need to be some questions answered from Tidewater. In
Well,
in
and-
the years I've been on the board, I've never had a proposal like this come just via a committee.
well,
I've ne-
here's
You
the-
know, and the negotiation process via committee, not directly through the town. I think that's the part that's kind of confusing to me and it's a little bit just why I would like a little bit more insight into it.
That's another, that brings up a good point, because these figures are estimates, they're not official, it's not done through a contract negotiation process. So typically, that's how a town will commit to how much money they're going to expend to a project is through formal contract negotiation processes, which is why I asked earlier if we needed to enter into that process in order to apply for grant funding. So these numbers potentially have the potential to change when we enter into contract negotiations. But what you're asking is to commit 60,640 in ARPA funds, regardless of the outcome of those contract negotiations.
I'm not sure what contract you're referring to, but for this
With
project, they're asking for a commitment for that amount of money to get the grant to do the project that they project cost as spelled out in the spreadsheet.
I think we have
It
to-
is an
I think we have-
unusual,
we-
it
we-
is unusual time, it's unusual fund structure, so that's why it's all different.
Yeah, but we can't spend $60,640 without a formal contract agreement. We can't just give Tidewater $60,640.
No, you're committing to allocate funds to that project.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
All right. But you want to enter into a contract to do that beforehand?
I
No,
guess I'm
would-
just, like I said,
Yeah.
So I think a bunch of your questions are really appropriate, right? You just got this document a couple days ago, something like that.
Today.
So I totally
Today.
understand that.
Now,
Separate though,
today.
yeah, right, yes, so, and there's still a lot to dissect in that. But I think the contract discussions will be between Connect Maine, LCI and the town, once the grant gets awarded. So there won't be complicated contract negotiations in order to move this forward. But I think you want to meet with Tidewater, you want to ask multiple questions about this, but not in the sense of a contract negotiation. That will get sorted out once you get the award, and then all the formal paperwork gets done, so.
So there's no, I guess it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
So the numbers they're putting out, the project gets done. We put in however much money we put in, if that's accepted, and we don't have to pay anymore. We get an accounting of it and we're done. There's no contracted amount, I guess.
There will be a contract between Connect Maine, the town, and LCI. And it will say LCI is committed to doing these number of houses in this kind of time frame, and here's the town's share. So I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but that's going to be worked out once you get the award. But your discussion, your points about the content of the proposal you're looking at, those all should be discussed with LCI to get you to a comfortable place there, if possible.
And again, at the meeting
2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, again, we were talking about
101?
101,000. So we were gonna pay 101,000, they were gonna pay 101,000. Right now, they're paying 107,000, so their number went up by 3,000. They're asking for more
State money.
state
State.
money.
Mhm.
And then the estimated cost went down by $10,873 for some reason.
I don't have my copy in
But
front of me, but
I guess those are the numbers that
Yeah.
I just, tens of thousands, I just need to know
make a
what
difference.
we're looking at. And
Make a
if
difference. And all
that-
all those elements that you want to be asking
Yeah,
about.
and just
Yep.
sort of understanding what it is that we're committing to, if we're going to commit, if we're committing 18% or if we're committing $60,640. And then if we have that $60,640 to commit with the other, the other end of it. So I think
Well-
that's why a week's, I know that this isn't the first time that they've dealt with municipalities before. And I doubt they generally have a 6-hour turnaround on something like this with the town. So
Yes, I think as George mentioned, we all were expecting this document months ago to help us sort it out ourselves, the committee sort it out and to present it to you
Yeah.
well ahead of time.
so I don't know. I guess, well, we have a motion on the floor and it's been seconded. Do we have, I guess we'll take a vote.
Well, before we do that, did I hear that we were going to meet next Monday to discuss this specifically? Because maybe I'll consider tabling it until that point. But if it's just a workshop,
I think we can,
or would we be voting on it?
I think we can plan on it. Yeah, I can't promise you. I can't, we got something on the floor right now. So I just want to clear this off before we.
Right, but I don't want to, we don't need to vote upon it if it makes sense to table it till the next Monday, if that's what we're going to do.
Yep.
Then I would,
It's the-
proper
the-
procedure, I don't want to withdraw the motion, but I would offer to table it. And I'm sure the person who seconded it would,
Well, we have to, but
pending the next meeting.
Yeah, well, I think you must be able to take it.
You can amend your motion.
I think you can amend your motion, but then you have to then it has to be seconded. We have something on the floor. You made a
So
motion,
you would
David.
withdraw your motion, make a new motion, and then someone would second it.
Well, I want to keep the motion out there, keep it alive, but I think it's just best to withdraw it and then I'll make a new motion come Monday.
Okay.
If we are going to meet on Monday to discuss.
So you're withdrawing your motion.
I'm withdrawing my motion.
Okay.
Is that the
Oh, okay, that's
consensus?
fine. I'll
That's the
second that.
consensus of the board then, that we'll all meet
We'll
on
meet.
Monday.
Yeah.
We'll meet at 7 here
To discuss our.
to discuss ARPA funding and broadband as it.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we'll try to, I don't know
And I think that,
if, we have to have some discussions with Tidewater.
Mhm.
I don't know if that we designate Sarah to have those discussions.
Or we could have him here. I mean, really tell them they need to be here.
Right. I mean,
yeah,
I
but
think,
I
I think there's some discussions before the public meeting would be
Mhm.
appropriate.
Tidewater has not reached out to talk to you at all, have they?
No.
Okay. So that's my point.
Yeah. you haven't heard it directly.
Well, I mean, if you have questions, we can take them back. The committee can take them back, or I can take them
No,
back.
I mean,
That's
at this
right.
point, when we're talking about
Hmm.
town dollars, it's not really appropriate for a committee such as the. broadband
See, I
committee to
don't
be
know
making
if that's
negotiations.
necessarily correct. I mean, we can delegate information and negotiation. Anyways, if you have questions.
Yeah.
We can seek the answers.
Yeah, I think it'd be good. I mean, are you comfortable?
Yep.
Speaking with Tidewater about? Okay. I think that's the proper word.
So we can filter questions to Sarah.
I think they'll
Yeah.
have questions, Sarah. And then Sarah can confer obviously with David,
Well, I hope you share those questions with me too.
but
So
we can only share them.
I mean, we don't have, we can't have an email discussion.
We can't have. an
right,
email
it's not,
discussion.
well,
Silly rules.
I don't know if it's totally silly, but yeah.
All right,
No, it's being.
so. Any further discussion on the broadband committee proposal 7.1? All right, seeing none, moving on to 7.2 roads update, and we'll bring our esteemed road commissioner. Beth Hager.
Sorry, Seth, we probably should have moved you to the top of the.
Or you
I
should
just-
I
come-
mean-
You should come to every meeting.
We get to go to awesome subject like plowing and roads. It's so
Yeah.
great.
But, and everybody leaves. Why do they leave
I-
for roads?
Everyone says they want to hear about roads and then they all
I'm the bastard child of all creation. here. I just-
Mal's gonna stick around to hear you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Looks like he has your back. too.
He does have my back.
Nice to meet
Oh.
So as long as it's not a shiv in your back. right?
Yes, we get those too. But that's all right. Got broad shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
Seth, I just want to thank you again publicly. Last Monday, we were getting ready so we have our new installation in process right now. There was a supply chain issue with ductwork, but one of the pieces that needed to happen, we had a piece of concrete that was in the way. And I told Sarah, I said, Sarah, make sure you tell Seth to send the A-team out. And who did I get? Well, I'm here. Rob and I are here. We're pulling stuff out of the basement, old town records and maps and everything else, moving things around so that everyone can get started. Arthur Walsh showed up, put the electric in. I mean, this is all on a holiday, President's Day, and we got more activity. And then Seth rolls in with the backhoe and there's the dump truck here, and it was just I had this full job site going. It was great. It was so much fun.
And usually I don't get a compliment like that because usually when I show up, everyone's like, "Oh no, great.
Johnny was
I
making
got
a-
the C team today." And I'm like, "Hey, what's up?"
He was making a racket. He was slamming around. It was great. So it was a fun thing, but it was a cool experience where the town pulled together and we got it all ready, and the installation's going well, and should be up and running soon. So great.
Good.
Thank you again.
Anytime. That's what we're here
10%
for.
more effort. That's all I asked for. So
So, Sarah asked me to come in and just do a little bit of a brief update. Obviously, we try to keep you guys in the loop with what goes on. It's pretty dynamic in our area, especially this time of year. So, here for any questions that you may have please just fire away. I try to keep this pretty informal. Couple things on our end that's going on. We've got a couple of meetings coming up with MDOT in reference to a couple of projects that are going to be happening. These projects you've been aware of in the past, but they're getting closer to the end of the stage where they're really starting to get ready to be advertised for bid. The most prominent one is located right in front of the town office at the intersection of Mills Road and Academy Hill and Main Street. We'll be meeting with the DOT. You gotta help me. I get
Tomorrow at 9.
All right, see tomorrow at 9.
Okay, good.
So I'll be there tomorrow at 9, and basically we're just finishing up the planning processes associated with that project and just trying to make sure that we're on the same page with the DOT and actively advocate for anything that we can for the town to further our wishes of sidewalk and pedestrian access and anything else that we can potentially leverage the DOT to get, basically.
So their goal, Seth, correct me if I'm wrong, is to improve drainage on about a 750 yard stretch.
So their primary goal really is the intersection of Plum Street and Main Street, where we continually have that failure. When we did the downtown revitalization project several years ago, that was part of that, but subsequently we've had several times where that's let go. They've actually been back in a couple of times and repaired it and tried to fix it and put in a couple of dry wells, all to no avail. So this project is really targeted to improve that intersection, separate out some drainage associated with Plum Street as it comes down into that area. The outflow across the street where it enters into the bay, they're gonna redo that as well, upsize the pipe. And then collectively collect some water coming off of Mills Road for a few hundred feet, stretching up towards the postal center, up Mills Road a few hundred feet. There's some catch basins. I know that's hard to see, but there is actually a closed drainage system up through there. So they're gonna improve the entrance of that, basically, the starting point of that, and wrap that into this project.
By chance, is it gonna mess up those terrible sidewalks so that they need to be replaced?
So that's our goal, is to get that affected into the project so that we can get those fixed.
The sidewalks along Mill Street are terrible.
It'll only be a
Short.
couple hundred feet just
Okay.
within the project limits. So unfortunately, we can't take it up the street any further, but our goal will be to try to twist and pull and get everything we possibly can out of them for that. For
Good.
sure. But that is the premise, is to improve the drainage right there, try to create a solution that is going to last a little bit longer than what we've had in the past.
Can you show them some pictures from the job that they did on Academy Hill before they gave it to us as partial leverage? Can you
yeah,
show them
that-
the rug that
I-
was
I-
covering the pipe?
It's, you know, it's the state, you know, like, what can we say? We got a couple other projects gonna roll through the area. We've got some railroad infrastructure works on some bridges and crossings that are gonna happen. Really doesn't have any impact on the town, but that is happening. We have a couple mill and fill projects out on Route 1 that got postponed from last year. They're gonna happen. Again, no real impact to our, to the village area, what have you, but it is gonna be happening on Route 1. So from the state level, that's really a synopsis of our projects. LCP, Lake Capital Paving Program has some impacts in our area as well for a couple of roads. That's just a regular annual maintenance program. Again, no impact to the taxpayer really here besides the fact that the state's just going to be doing routine maintenance in a couple of sections. In the beginning planning process stages, so the project on Mill Street and Main Street, we're kind of coming towards the end where they're getting close to advertising. We got a bridge replacement going to happen out on 194. Try to get you in Norman, I believe it's may not be Norman. Don Hunt, I think, has a gravel pit right on the other side. It comes down. There's a real narrow bridge. It narrows right in on 194, right in the middle of the ledge area there. DOT is looking to replace that bridge, and we're just starting in that process now. Again, not a lot of impact, but you'll see some correspondence back and forth about the most recent request is if it had any significant to historical preservation
got that
issues.
one, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I don't think there's anything out there.
No, not that I'm aware of, to be honest with you, but you'll see some of that type of correspondence come back and forth, and you might see the public advertised for comment as that project gets moving forward, but that is in the works. So locally, as far as we're concerned, coming into March, we're doing okay as far as budget goes. We got a couple issues with some frozen culverts. This year's been particularly difficult in that particular arena. Our closed drainage systems are working pretty well. We don't have any impacts really on the downtown area where we have our drainage systems, but North Newcastle Road right now is giving us quite a bit of fits. We got one that's just froze up tighter than a drum. We've been paying some extra attention to it, just trying to keep the roadway safe, but it's actively flowing across the road and it just makes a mess ice spots. We had a total of 3, I believe, out there. 2 of them we got cleared up and opened up, and those are flowing. But this one here, it's going to have to be replaced. It's full. It's a cross culvert going across a private road. It's town responsibility now. As a result, it's not a new install. So I'll get that on the work list for this coming budget season. You'll see that when we go through the budget. So just know that I'm sure we're doing the best we can, but it's an ongoing issue until spring really gets here. It is what it is. We'll make it as safe as we can.
The frozen culverts have been on private. They're along the edge of the road. Is that where you've been having most of the issues? Is that where you're?
Yeah, we've had a couple cross culverts that have froze up too. I mean, this year, just with the winter being open, the temperatures being what they are, the amount of precipitation in liquid form that we've had, it's just froze them up. So once you start to get back up and you have water start coming across, it creates those problems. But it's winter in Maine, it is what it is, unfortunately.
Some of those-
That produces potholes too. So do you survey to see where you have to go and patch?
Yeah, so we're fortunate enough right now, the roads that we do have some washing across, the surface is pretty tight, so we haven't had any rutting. But yes, if we had a surface that
You have
was
the one that's growing on.
broken, yes, Glidden Street where the surface isn't exactly as tight as some of the other ones, yes, absolutely. We'll have that water constant freeze thaw cycle creates an issue. You gotta pay
It
attention.
just lifts it out.
Yes,
I
exactly.
have to say, Seth, driving on Mills Road all the time, I'll go along and there's a big pothole and I'll go, I gotta call Seth. And I drive it the next day, it's filled. And then I go back a week later and it's like it opened up again. I'm gonna let Seth know. And then drive the next day and it's filled in. So whoever's driving on Mills Road noticing it, they're filling them quickly.
I'd love to take the credit for that because that'd be great, but I can't because that's the state. But we definitely try to pay attention to potholes as much as we can. There is a statute associated with it. You have to respond within a certain amount of time, and they've been out doing a lot of it because they've had their own issues this year as well. Right up
surprised.
on the mills, they've had a cross culvert that's been plugged,
Yeah.
and we've had a lot of ice up there. So they're dealing with the same.
It-
Everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah.
We're no different. Let's see. Outside of that, we have an ongoing issue with some speed limit signs, and as you know, we've talked about this several times in the past. Sarah and I have kind of I worked out a pathway to kind of get a couple of things together. You know, this is just a process, right? It's more in depth than her and I, and so it's just something that we've been trying to work together, get a couple of drafts together to be able to bring to you guys. But speed limit signs are an enforceable law. We had a considerable push by citizens in the Sheepshead area in particular about speed limit signs. Their enforcement, their ability to get signs up and such. We went through the necessary steps to be able to provide an accurate speed limit survey and assessment for North Newcastle Road in particular, and that involves the DOT. We went through all that. We posted the speed limits, and to our dismay, what the state came back with for speed limit signs weren't the satisfaction of the residents. After that, we had some signs that were stolen because they didn't like what they received for speed limits. We also were told by the DOT that the information that was done, since the road hadn't physically changed shape or size, that the old survey would hold water and be valid. One citizen ended up calling DOT, and I don't know why or how, but they ended up getting a different series of information from that. I've reached right back out to the director of the department that does this, and he's like, no, that shouldn't have happened, but it did. So it caused a little bit of doubt. So to double, triple check and to make sure that our story is watertight and 100% accurate, we've reached back out to the DOT to have another brand new speed study done to ensure that what we had for prior information is 110%. As you can imagine, he received that request like, you got to be kidding me, right? But he's put it on the list, and when he gets to it, he'll get to it. In the meantime, we're still rolling with the original, speed limits that was provided to us. I replaced the sign right now, and if we continue to have a problem, we'll have to seek other means and methods to enforce this. But all indications, what we have right now is that we've done everything right according to the book for the enforcement and the proper signage for the speed limits. So
My understanding of signs and signage is that when it's a white sign, like you see white speed limit sign, that is signifying that it's an enforceable speed
Correct.
limit.
yes,
And when it's a yellow sign, it's an advisory sign.
caution. Correct.
Caution.
Yes.
Caution. So that's not.
Yep.
That's yeah.
That
So
is-
that's the difference between the two, and
That-
that's why when you have a white sign out, it does have to be enforceable. You can't put something on there that's not posted speed limit.
Correct.
We've gotten some requests to put a different speed limit on, even though it's not enforceable.
Correct. I mean, it's been, way back, when Ben and John, it's been our focus on the board for years to try to get us to a point where, what we say is true and what we say we mean and what we say we can enforce instead of putting false things up. So this is all part of a much larger conversation in regards to ordinances and stuff like that. But to this degree, these speed limit signs, I have been reluctant to post roads and put speed limit signs just because I feel like today it's 30 miles an hour is the one to put up. So without some backing and some statistical analysis and some evidence that supports said speed limit, I've opted to not post one and wait for the proper designation of what it is to make sure it's accurate. We've requested this same speed study for Westall County Road as well. As you know, with the result of the new construction out there, it's nice and smooth and people like to drive fast on. So those citizens also requested that be done, and that was requested, and it's all in the hands of the state of Maine. It's outside of our control at this point in time. Pushed him as hard as I could to try to do them both at the same time, and we'll see how it goes. But as soon as we get any information or we get that information back that's accurate, we'll get them. If they need to be adjusted, we'll get them reposted in writing. Let's see what else. I don't know. Is there anything?
I think that was comprehensive.
Yeah.
Staff, you guys have any questions? Or?
How's your, the number of storms compared to prior years? Because we've had some really warm days up in the 50s and 60s, or some really cold ones too. So has that had an effect on your salting, sanding, and all?
Yes, great question. So the number of events is up, snowfall's down. But we, what we're seeing for ice and precipitation as far as liquid goes has been problematic for sure. We're through much more sand than we have. We'll hit our salt budget right on. I'm pretty confident that, coming through March, we're going to be in good shape. We got plenty of material to get us through. But overall number of events, it's funny, I was working on that today. I think that we were 29 for the year so far. On average, we budget for right around 40. So that gives us 11 through the month of March. So, give or take how Mother Nature works out between now and then, we're pretty close.
Would you rather have the ice events or the snow
No.
events?
Snow all day long. I would go back to 12 inches of snow every snowstorm than deal with ice. It's just way easier. It's safer. It's just more economic. We go through less product. It's safe, better for the environment. I mean, all the way around, plowing snow is way better than dealing with ice. It's just not good. A great question. Very good question.
And so the spring work to finish, you get some work to finish this spring before our next budget begins.
Yeah, I mean, all of our capital projects last year were completed with the exception of just a couple very minor things. We got to pick up trees and stuff like
Yeah.
that out on Station Road because those get cut over the winter months. Obviously, we're online. I spoke to the street sweeping guys and striping guys, so we're in line. Supply issues are going to be, you heard it all along. Right now in February, I'm telling you right now, the supply issues are going to be a problem. Paint continues to be an issue for traffic striping. Culverts continue to be an issue. I was dealing with a separate project unrelated, but City of Bath has got a water line project out right now. We were dealing with estimates today for that. And all of the pipe suppliers across the board have said at least 20 weeks. So that's uncharacteristic. Usually we have a project. The project deadline for the job completion in Bath is literally like end of June, and we won't even have the pipe before that. So, some of these things are really seeing some supply chain issues develop, and it's impacting ARPA funds because some of the towns are using this and then they can't get the work done, and then they're trying to figure out how to expend, so it can be expended and, the paperwork can be done, but the physical work is a problem because we just can't get stuff. So as soon as the budget gets done, I will begin to prepare see what we can do about trying to secure culverts and parts and pieces, just like we did last year. But yes, it's going to be a problem. Supply issues are going to be a problem. Yep. For sure. Ebb and flow, come and go.
And you think when it comes time for budget, you think you'll have a pretty good read on where at least how much does the asphalt price change and all that other, I know.
Liquid right now is up about $250 a liquid ton. I've been doing this my entire life and I've never seen it.
Yeah.
So, street price, that translates to about $10 a ton. That's a significant change.
Yeah.
I don't see it changing that much. I don't think that I say this, but who knows? I don't see that it's going to fluctuate. Usually this time of year, they're starting to quote stuff out to us already. DOT has held back on some things, waiting to see if it's going to stabilize because they don't like to bid things under a certain price and then have a big jump the following week. They'd rather have see where the budget's going to lie. But this week is really a big week. They're going to release a lot of paving this week. So we'll see what the prices do as far as liquid goes. I feel very confident that I'll have a pretty good handle for budget wise so that we won't be in trouble.
Yeah.
Rather we have to decide the extent of our program, what we want to cut and limit based on dollar figure. Obviously be a discussion for the manager and the board to have.
Yeah.
But I'm very confident that we'll be able to get us in a range that I don't think we'll be in trouble by our package and then go, we're $75,000 short from what we wanted to do. I don't think that will be a problem.
Okay.
Most of the suppliers have been pretty willing to commit once they've committed to hold it. Most of them. Obviously, this is going to be an exception if the economy continues to really be weird, but I think we'll be okay.
Lumberyard quotes are still good for 24 hours.
Yeah,
so
24 hours, right?
That's what I deal with.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, we're doing the same thing, but and they understand, and it's hard for these towns to develop, some of these big ticket items, to develop a budget and then have a work plan and then completely be short, right before you get ready to do it. That's hard. So we do what we can to take those flows out of it and try to make it as consistent, but it is a challenge right now. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Seth, when's the Main Street, Pump Street, Mills Road, when is state expecting to do that work?
I got to be honest with you. I was thinking that they were going to put it out this spring, come Mayish to try to get done this work cycle, but I don't know. It's going to be one of the questions I have for him tomorrow. They were looking at some funding sources and seeing what they had for money available the last time that we talked, and they were projecting that they might be able to roll this out a little quicker, but I don't know where on their level that's still at. We'll ask Doug tomorrow for sure and see what's going to happen with that. I know that utilities have done all their utility line locations. So I know that's all completed and done. I know final plans have been drawn, and I know this is basically their last ditch effort to, hey, if everything is good. Sarah was just coming on when some of that was going on. So it's good that she gets to have a little bit of say, she's in on this final one now, so that we can really put the final stamp and approval and then be done with it. Again, not that we have a whole lot of say, but they like to make us feel that we can have a say.
Are they gonna mess with that crosswalk sign that you just finally got installed?
I hope not. I don't believe so. That's not, I mean, they're not really reconstructing the intersection. They're just taking the drainage that's there and
Okay.
improving it. Right now, that intersection actually flows across the street. Well, there's two different paths. There was across the street and joined with Academy Hill. That's an option. And then coming down around the corner. So this is just going to streamline some of that and divert some of the water so that the two different outflows are handling the amount appropriately, and sets up the future for Mills Road if they ever wanted to hook on to it. But that's a long ways out.
Just leave our sign alone. It took forever to get it.
It did. Yes, it
That was
did.
amazing.
Yep.
And then road postings and stuff like that, where we at?
Joel, I love you. You
Yeah.
always. So I just got done telling you that we're trying to be as truthful as possible. I live and die by, people may not like answers, but I'd rather be honest than give you what you want to hear. Our road postings are up. I ran just a couple posters short. I'd ordered them a couple of weeks ago. They're back ordered. So they are coming. I expect them here this week to finish up. All the ones that I have posted. So the roads are posted. If we get challenged on it, we don't have a leg to stand on. I say this publicly here only because in conversation with you folks, I don't publicize it outside or on the website or anything like that. But basically, we are asking people to do us a favor and stay off the roads.
And so just let's hit the why do we post roads, Seth? What is the reason for posting roads?
The majority of our roads in not only this town, but in the state are improperly built and they hold moisture. So when the moisture is stuck in the roadbed and it freezes and the frost goes deep, it causes it to become unstable. This act of posting roads is a mechanism in which we try to restrict the amount of force that's exhibited on the hot top and the infrastructure to keep it from breaking. So as the frost comes out of the ground is unstable, becomes soft. If you put a lot of weight on it, it'll break the infrastructure and then you're forced to do a repair. In addition to that, if municipalities invest a substantial amount of money in infrastructure, they want to protect it for as long as they can. So this is a mechanism in which they can protect that investment over a longer period of time.
So is the posting only for like class 2 vehicles and larger? or-
23,000 pounds or more.
Okay, so, but not your normal cars, sedan,
Right.
pickup truck.
So it's not to restrict passenger cars, those are small, and there are exemptions to postings. If we had an ordinance and followed what the state recommends, oil trucks, food delivery trucks, septic trucks, things that are home commodities are exempted from postings, they travel freely. But general commerce and things of, industry and that are restricted. If your vehicle is registered over 23,000 pounds, you can't travel on it. And there are exceptions which are right on the poster. So if the road is solidly frozen with no visible water coming through any of the cracks, temperatures below 32 degrees, even though the road's posted, you can go ahead. If the road has visible water showing, it's above 32 degrees and it's posted, you're not supposed to. So things to that nature, it's really designed as a mechanism to help prevent excessive damage and really deteriorating these roads. You can appreciate Mills Road, perfect example, not posted. As the frost comes out, it really gets. River Road is extreme right now, is really rough. The road is really starting. You can see how these roads starting to react. And this time of year, especially as we put de-icing material on it, when we get these storms, it really starts to play havoc because the frost settles in, we pull it out, it goes back, we pull it out, and it makes a mess. So these postings are a great tool if used appropriately. And it's really just respect for the fact that we all pay for our infrastructure and trying to keep it as long as possible. It's on our works. I mean, it's on our list. It's on our radar.
What would make them enforceable would be to have an ordinance that designates. waypoints.
Now, would that be something to add to our roads and entrances?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it has been a problem with people, too big of trucks going over.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest with you, David, I don't actively seek it because there's nothing I can do about it. Now, if there's something that somebody reports something happened, do I say, hey, look, roads are posted and I try to put my best foot forward? Yes, obviously. If somebody says, I'm sorry, I don't, I'm not gonna listen to you. Okay. There's nothing that we really can do to enforce it.
Could you put it in dollar terms, like how many violations of what it has translated? to?
So typically that is what happens. So if we had an ordinance, a lot of towns, municipalities have a fee structure based on that. So, one violation equals this, and it's designed to persuade people to not break it.
They
And
know how
also,
much it costs.
Right.
Yeah.
and any revenue that's typically generated usually goes back. I mean, most of the time it goes in the general fund, but the idea is that it goes to repair any damage that potentially is done. And that would be decided amongst the municipality. Everybody's got a little something a little different in how they handle that. But yes, that's the idea
You
behind
can
the fine.
determine.
Yep, exactly right.
Yeah, a few years ago, the end of Station Road, the part that just
Yeah.
beyond the intersection where Cochrane and Island meet. It was the strangest thing. I'd never seen it before, where the road just looked like this. It was all crazy. It was all pumped up, and I thought I called John and I said, John, this road's toast. There's no way they're going to be able to plow it next year.
Yeah.
And it actually settled out. It's still not good, but it settled out to the point where it hasn't been redone or anything.
Frost is
but
a
if
powerful
someone-
thing.
If someone had gone over that with a big truck at that point, there wouldn't be, we would have had to have rebuilt the road, I guess is the concept. So that's an extreme example of it that I can see.
It's a powerful thing. I mean, Mother Nature is extremely
Right.
powerful. Freeze thaw cycle is, it's something that whether you want to believe it or not, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real.
It's very real.
Yeah.
So
Hit a couple of those potholes and you know it.
yes, yeah, it's we're living in Maine. We're getting through it, right?
Yeah.
Summer is about ready to come. I can feel it.
That 60-degree day did it to you.
Oh God, wasn't that great?
It was
What a
great.
tease. I mean, it was like, yes, all right, we can finally get out. No, sorry. 8 degrees. Good luck.
There were people ice fishing in shorts.
Yes, see, I mean, wouldn't that be great if we could do that all the time? I mean, that would be awesome, but no.
Anyone else have anything for staff?
Thank
Or
you.
do you have anything?
One last thing, please take a look at the website. I've been trying, Michelle's been great about pestering me, which I need, but we've been trying to get some updates out on a little bit more regular basis. One of the biggest things we heard from you folks was that communication, we could try to do better on that. So I have been trying to push out every, couple months, hey, we're working on this and we're working on that. So I'll get another one out about posted roads and stuff like that as we move into spring, right off coming up. But just if you see something on there, we posted stuff for MDOT about mailboxes. But I try to find little tidbits about different things and stick out there. So although it's not weekly and it's not necessarily every month, I try to every so many weeks just get something out there. And we've been trying to utilize that. So feedback from that would be great. If you like it, don't like it, see it, and we're just trying to make it a little bit more interactive and get the word
It's
out.
on the website or Facebook or both?
No,
On our
website,
Website.
right on the town website. We've been trying to,
I've seen it before. I'm just trying to find it right now under, what's it under?
We usually have it.
Oh,
uh,
updates.
as
I see
the-
it.
Yeah,
Newcastle Road projects and updates.
yeah.
when we have a new one, we'll try and post it. It'll be right on the homepage as a red bar.
Okay.
on the top.
So if you have particular topics of interest or anything that your constituency likes, wants to get information on and stuff, please, I'll look forward to the feed and the ideas and I can get that out there.
Thank you,
Thank
Seth.
you,
All
Seth.
right, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank
night.
you.
You too.
All right. Moving on to 8.1, we have a town warrant for $263,975.67. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Moved by Rob. Do I have a second? Seconded by Karen. All right, any discussion?
It looked all pretty normal.
I'll just point out after Seth's comment about signs, the road sign, the speed limit sign in there is almost $500.
Yeah.
That's a significant loss if somebody lifts it.
Yeah,
Right.
because it was the whole, it wasn't just the sign. It wasn't like someone just unbolted a sign. They took the entire post and breakaway and everything out.
Yeah, and then there's a labor to
Someone
reinstall
had
it.
to
Labor
and-
too,
yeah.
yeah.
Someone-
It's costing all of us taxpayers money when someone does
Someone
that
ate
kind
their
of
Wheaties
vandalism.
that morning, I guess. All right. Yep, no, everything. Good. Anyone have anything else? All right, all those in favor of passing the town warrant for $263,975.
Tor's got his hand up.
Aye.
All right, that passes 5-0. Moving on to the town manager's report.
Joel already mentioned that the community room air filtration project's wrapping up this week likely. We received a finalized copy of the CLC interlocal agreement. It's been approved by their board. We're conducting legal review on the agreement and we'll let you all know when it's available for potential approval and signature by the select board. Nomination papers will be available March 7th and the following boards have vacancies. We have one seat that will be available for the select board / board of assessors / overseers of the poor. That's a 3-year term. We have one seat available for the school board, a 3-year term, and one seat as a trustee for the Great Salt Bay Sanitary District, also a 3-year term. The filing deadline's Friday, April 15th, no later than 12 p.m. noon. And please contact our clerk at town hall. with any questions.
Has anybody taken papers yet for any of
They
these?
can't take papers out until Monday,
next week.
March
Oh,
7th.
until Monday. Okay.
The answer is no.
So I hope not.
So
That's
no.
right.
Nope, not yet.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to 10.1. Do I have a motion to go into executive session under 1 MRSA section 4056A, personnel? Moved by Karen, seconded by Rob. All those in favor?
Yep.
All right. So nothing.
In case Michelle can't hear, Tor said yes too.
Yeah.
As Michelle's typing them up, I don't know.